Welcome back to every naval battle in history. When it comes to great naval conflicts, one's mind turns to the Punic Wars, although Carthage's navy was not a major player after the First War, or to the Second World War, which was certainly intense, but quite short-lived as these things go. But if you want a true, knock-down, drag-out, maritime struggle fought through the centuries, then the Arab-Greek conflict from the 7th to 11th centuries is hard to go past. And somewhere in the middle of this, we have the Battle of the Straits in 965. On the one side, we have the rising Fatimid dynasty, a Shia grouping tracing their lineage through the Prophet Muhammad's daughter Fatima and her husband Ali. Ali's murder in 661 is still a live source of conflict in the Muslim world to this day, and they don't agree much about Fatima's death either. The Fatimids had been chased all the way to the tribal lands around Carthage, where they made friends with the Berbers. This alliance would reshape the Mediterranean world. The Fatimid dynasty was founded in 909 in modern-day Tunisia, an area fans of naval history will always think of as Carthage. This was good timing because the previous Aghlabid dynasty in Ifriqiya, the old Roman province of Africa or Carthage, had just finished mostly driving the Byzantines out of Sicily, only to fall before the wild men pouring out of the hills with the light of God in their eyes. The Fatimids always planned to take control of the entire Muslim world. Their plans were headed towards Baghdad, despite finding real power in North Africa. The Byzantines at the same time had been busy with the conquest of Crete and taking land in Syria from the hapless Hamdamid dynasty. Their Emperor Nicephorus II focus is an interesting cat. After the Empress Theophano poisoned her 26-year-old husband Romano II, she had two children from him who were 5 and 3 years old. Nicephorus, as a successful general, took a crack at seizing the throne and, amid chaotic scenes, agreed to marry Theophano. He also agreed to a vow of chastity, ostensibly in memory of his first wife who had died before his rise. This was an excellent arrangement for Theophano. Her children were safe from a rivalry with children she might have had with Nicephorus. She had a strong and popular general as her emperor, and she didn't have too many questions about what had happened to her first husband. On August 16, 963, Nicephorus married Theophano and was proclaimed emperor. Up until this time, the Fatimids and the Byzantines had been remarkably smooth in their relations, both having an interest in chipping away at the Arab rulers of the Middle East. In 962, Taormina, the second largest Greek city in Sicily, was recaptured by the Fatimids, and Rometta, the last city, called for aid. This seemed like a bit of a no-brainer for Nicephorus. He could stop paying the tribute payments the Fatimids had been receiving, and if a war went well, then the riches of Sicily could be his. A force of 40,000 men and ships was sent, with the emperor's nephew, Manuel Phocas, in command, along with the admiral Nicetas Abalantes. The Byzantines landed in October 964 and captured Messina. Remember, they still held southern Italy, and a bridgehead at Messina was a useful position for resupply across the strait. Relieving the siege of Rometta did not go well, and Manuel Phocas was killed in the fighting. The Fatimids captured Rometta in the spring of 965, and Nicetas decided to withdraw his army back across the Straits of Messina to the safety of southern Italy. They weren't the first withdrawing army to be caught in the Straits, and they wouldn't be the last. According to Arab sources, the Fatimids had a complicated system of divers attaching ropes to the rudders of the Byzantine ships, which were then used, that is, the ropes were then used, to deliver pots of Greek fire to the sterns of those hapless ships. I just want to stress this is an Arab use of Greek fire against the Greeks, so much for that monopoly of legend. 1,000 prisoners were taken, including the admiral. He had spent happy years in captivity engaging in calligraphy, which survives to this day in the French National Library. Intriguingly, the Arab sources claim they captured a sword which had belonged to Muhammad in the battle, as if the Byzantines were carrying that around in their invasion fleets. The Byzantine sources claim the sword was given years later as a ransom for Nicetas. My humble opinion is that the sword was a fake either which way it ended up in Fatimid hands. The upshot of this short war was the final loss of Sicily for the Greeks, but a renewed peace between the Empire and the Fatimids so they could both concentrate on stripping land away from the hapless Hamdamids. The Fatimids would conquer Egypt, the Levant, and much of the Red Sea coast before petering out to internal conflict. Eventually they were destroyed by the Sunni warlord known in the West as Saladin in 1171. Nicephorus II, on the other hand, would get on the wrong side of Theophano's lover John Tzimiskes. In 969, she would unlock the emperor's bedchamber doors to allow her lover to slip in with an entourage and end the life of Nicephorus II, also known as the Pale Death of the Saracens. The moral of this story is that whomever is running Carthage should not be taken for granted at sea. Strap in, folks, we've got lots more to cover as we take on every naval battle in history. Smash those like and subscribe buttons, ring that bell, you don't want to get left behind.